Welcome to Intentionality with Dominique, the show that helps business owners become valued and in-demand suppliers in the marketplace to scale their businesses. Let's start today's show with host and intentional connector, Dominique Simpson Milton.
Intentionality with Dominique is designed to spotlight successful entrepreneurs, those who've made it past the critical 10-year mark and have valuable insights to share. Their journeys offer lessons that can help less experienced business owners avoid common pitfalls and grow stronger, faster. Because the more businesses we help survive, the stronger our economy becomes. We also feature corporate leaders who have been intentional in opening doors of opportunity for diverse suppliers and small business owners. Today, we are spotlighting Ron Harvey, COO of Global Core Strategies and Consulting. Ron, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dominique. Happy to be here.
Always good to have a conversation with you, Ron. Ron, Global Core Strategies has been in business for over 12 years. What inspired you to start the company, and how has your mission evolved over the years?
Yeah, I think I started the company from a what could have been a negative situation. I was working for the federal government, and they were relocating the organization that I was working for, and my wife and I did not want to move to Kentucky. And my wife inspired me to start, live my dream, go after what I want to go after, and it was being an entrepreneur. So the fact that they were, pushing me out and I didn't want to relocate, honestly, I felt bad initially, but it helped me become what I am today, and it helped me take a risk that I would not have taken had they not done it. So it inspired me to really start a business, and with my wife's support, 13 years later, we're doing what we enjoy doing with the people we enjoy doing it with.
Excellent. I heard two things in that, Ron, so that our viewers might not be aware, but you had the experience necessary to start this business. Talk to me about that experience that you had that you parlayed into this business.
Yeah, I think the experience really came from my parents. My parents were entrepreneurs, and I never really called them entrepreneurs until I became one myself. And then I became, an entrepreneur. And so what happened for me was when I got ready to start, I realized how much I had learned from my parents, being entrepreneurs with very limited education, and with all my resources and knowledge. I actually did bring a lot of experience to the table to start the business and run it successfully, which a lot of business owners never had that exposure to people that were entrepreneurs all their life.
Yes. And so when you structured the company, Ron, your wife is the CEO, is that correct?
No, I wish when I structured the company initially, my wife was like, hey, you go do it. Okay. I would sit over here to be your cheerleader. And my wife had nothing to do with the company in the first year. She had just retired and she wanted to be a mom. And she's like, look, I'm going to take care of Maya. I've been in the military and missed a lot of stuff with kids, and I don't want to miss the years with Maya. And so I said, go for it, go be a mom. And we did well with it because she was afforded that opportunity. I was the CEO initially. About a year and a half into the company, she came and said, hey, I see you can use some help. I would love to. And I say, you'll be a better CEO than me. Technically, when it comes to organizing back end stuff, she just knows the business better than I did. So we switched roles, and I became operations and she became the brains of the organization. So behind the scenes, this company really exists because of what she does, and the way that she's structured and thinks helps us be successful.
Well, I love the way you recognize where the talent is, right? So you work on your strengths and she works on her strengths. Together, you all work together. So that's outstanding. The next question, Ron, is you work with organizations on issues like trust, communication, succession planning. What's one of the most common leadership challenges that you see in your business, and how do you help leaders overcome that?
Yeah, there are several that come out. I think the one that's most important is leaders being able to pass the baton. A lot of leaders struggle at handing the baton to the next generation soon enough. And so I think the one that I see most people don't do is get out of the way soon enough, pass the baton, mentor and develop the next generation. It's almost as though we work like we're going to always be around.
So I love that point. I tell people when you're starting a business, you need a business plan to start the business. You need a plan to maintain the business. It has to be adjusted each year as you go through. But like you said, then you need an exit plan, right? Yes. So to build up a successful business, part of that success is having a way to either turn it to someone else, succession planning, or to sell it. Would you agree?
I agree. I mean, and that's for entrepreneurs, Dominique. That's for corporate America. Succession plan. That's the word we throw around. But the reality is most people don't do it well. And I liken it to aviation. An airplane will never take off without a co-pilot, ever. Most businesses are operating today, 85% of them are operating without a co-pilot. The person that can fly it, do it, even if they weren't available for whatever reason. Most of us think we're going to be around, or it's not going to happen today, or we're going to be there 10 years from now. And we don't have a very good co-pilot in that seat. So the business, if we go away, the business will fail.
I've seen that time and time again. So interesting to know that that's the biggest problem that you see. And so as a coach, you help people to understand and see a different vision.
Yeah, I think as a coach, what I come alongside most people do is help them get out of their own way. And I think most times it's just having a safe space without being critical of what they've done or haven't done, and allowing them the opportunity to get out of their way and let their legacy be built and designed intentionally versus by accident. And so most people have a idea of what their legacy is, but they're not intentionally working on it. They just hope it happens.
And I heard one more thing in that, Ron, is that the people you're working with, they need to be coachable. The most successful businesses that I find are coachable.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I had to get there. I mean, there was a time when I felt like I had all the answers, and I had to get to a place where as good as you may get, you can't be uncoachable. LeBron James is great, but there's a coach. Michael Jordan was phenomenal. There was a coach. Tiger Woods, phenomenal, but there's a coach. And the one thing that I had to, over time, be okay with being coached. And not just doing it for the sake of doing it, but doing it because someone saw it differently and had a different lens they were looking for that helped me get better. I have a business coach, and I've had it since I've been in business.
That's excellent. So in addition to that coach, what's the biggest lesson that you've learned as a business owner over the years?
Knowing my numbers. I mean, I would tell most people is really the biggest lesson is being really intentional and deliberate and disciplined to know your numbers. Most of us don't know them. We look at it from day to day, but we don't really know every time that person sits in a chair, what is the amount of profit that's built into it? Is it realistic or unrealistic? Do I know everything that happens, for my cost center and my profit center within my business? Do I have all the people on board, my banker, my accountant, my tax expert on? Do I have all the people in the conversation to know what my vision is as a business owner versus I just want to make money? You can make money, but it's not making money. It's being able to keep what you make, more of it. How do you retain what you get over time and close the wealth gap where, there are a lot of professional athletes that are bankrupt, but made a buttload of money.
So it's important that you said knowing your numbers, right? So there's a lot involved in that. So knowing your numbers helps you to be able to price your services. When somebody calls up Ron Harvey for a consulting job, you know how to price your services. A lot of businesses don't know their value and how to price their services.
That is true. I didn't. I mean, I tell people, they watch Ron Harvey today, 13 years later, but I will tell you that, and when I first started off, people would ask me, hey, what is this going to cost me? I literally would stutter or stamp around or be uncertain or unsure. Some of it was, I was nervous to even say what it was. Because I'm like, nobody's going to pay for this. And it's because I just didn't deliver it well. And I didn't have confidence in my own numbers. So I think you go through that stage where, is it really worth this, or would I pay for it, or who am I to charge this amount? So yeah, knowing your numbers not only helps you price your items right, it helps you build confidence in what you're doing, and it helps you understand the market too. So I think there are a lot of lessons learned in knowing your numbers.
Yeah, and also when you know your numbers, you're able to forecast into the future, and it helps you with your cash flow. So do you do that on your own, or do you have somebody else helping you to be able to realize what your true numbers are?
Yeah, I have someone on my team that actually is doing it. I have a CPA. I've had a CPA now way before I started the business. I had it when I was in the military. And he's built me for 35 years of helping me really understand my investments, my stock, even as a business owner, when you go out to lunch, if you're going out to lunch and you're feeding people, most business owners don't plan those meals that they're sitting down having meetings. Like my wife and I, if we go to lunch, it's a business meeting and it's not illegal. It's written in the tax code. We don't leverage the tax codes that we could be leveraging, and we're upset about it. But there are tax codes that are not illegal. It's not below the board. It's all accessible for you. So if Linda and I are sitting out there at lunch, we can call it because CEO and CEO are having a lunch meeting. Not Linda and I are going on a private lunch dinner. So I think you got to be smart and use the system that's been written for us to understand all your numbers. And you need someone that knows it in and out because it changes annually across the board. It's constantly changing. So I'm not smart enough to know those, but I got someone that is.
So that's key, Rob, because a lot of people say, oh, I can't afford to have an accountant. You really can't afford not to have an accountant because that person pays for themselves. Like we talked earlier, like you might be able to write your entire car off, right? If you buy the right car, you buy a car that's not the right weight, you're out of that equation, right? But if you have somebody coaching and guiding you, you can write off your car, you can write off your trips. Like you said, you can write off your meals. So that is working smarter versus harder when you have the right people on your team. So kudos to you for engaging that way. And like you said, it changes every year, right? And so there's no way you can stay on top of all the tax codes. So
And neither do I want to, quite honestly. I don't think it's the best use of my time. You know, as a business owner, I'm good at executive coaching. I'm good at leadership development. I'm good at keynote. I'm good at moderating. I'm not good at tax, and then neither should I be the expert. And I think sometimes we get in trouble trying to be the expert at everything in our organization, which takes us away from what we really built it for, which really was our calling and our purpose. Like, do the thing that you're supposed to do and build everything else around you to help you get the other stuff done that you're not even good at, you don't enjoy doing, and you're not good at it. So I will tell you that I'm never going to try to become good at tax code ever.
That's good. So stay in your lane and hire the people that you need to be those experts for you. So Ron, if you're looking back over the business and you said, 12 years you've been in business, over 12 years, right? What would you do differently knowing what you know now?
I think the things I learned over time that I will probably do differently is I'll be mindful of who I hire and when I hire. I made some mistakes in hiring people because they needed a job or they were family. I would make sure I had a system and a process that hired people, and I will probably stay out of it more because as the owner, people would do what you ask them to do, but they may have a different opinion. So I think one of the things I would do is just my hiring and talent retaining. I would do that totally different than I did it when I first started.
What would you do differently in terms of
I would have a process in place to hire people versus when I first started, I would just hire people because I was desperate and they needed a job.
Okay.
And whether they had the talent or the skill or not, I could teach you how to do it. We'll figure it out, Bob. And that was not the real way to build a business. And both of those things were true. I needed the talent and they needed a job, but they weren't the right person in that seat to help us deliver at the level we want to deliver. So we ran into some things that just didn't work well. So I would have a process. I would use a professional organization to help us as we do today. How do we find the next person to help us deliver what we need to deliver? I would get my friendships and relationships out of the way. And I think we do make those mistakes. We hire because we know people and our heart is going out to them. And they may not be a good fit.
That's excellent because your talent is your most valuable asset.
Yes.
And so I like that you say, not dealing with your friends and family, hiring a professional to help you hire the right people. Again, another resource that you've engaged that becomes invaluable to get the right people at the table. Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. So Ron, you recently released your new book, Impact Leadership. What do you want leaders and business owners to take away from that book, and how does it tie into your executive coaching work?
Yeah, I will tell you, Dominique, the thing that I would really want them to walk away with, oftentimes we think that our resume, our degrees, our titles and our positions, how smart we are is what people really enjoy the most about us. And what I want leaders to walk away from, I've been writing this book or at least collecting data for the last 7 years to write this book. And what I found out over the 7 years is that people don't follow us because of our technical skills or our degrees. It's not even, that's not what they really do. Now, I think it's important and it does some good. But most people, when I ask one question, who's the person that has had the greatest impact on you being who you are today? And they'll list that person. I said, well, give me 2 words you use to describe them. It's amazing. The words they use had nothing to do with their technical skills or their education. And those words changed these people's lives forever. And so that book was gathered or developed from all the language that people have shared. And it's words like trust, listen, dependable, honest, caring, compassion, stuff that you don't see on LinkedIn, stuff that you don't see in resumes, stuff that you don't see on people's profiles, stuff that they don't talk about at lunch or when you're trying to bid a proposal or pitch a contest. Those are the things that actually have the greatest impact on people. And that's where the word came from. Just from that question I was asking, the entire book came from, what is it that you're doing to have the impact that you really want? And it's not about your degree and it's not about your title.
Excellent. Excellent. So Ron, you also talk about the importance of telling a story, telling a genuine story. I know when you're coaching people, you coach them to have a story and be able to share that story. Talk about that.
Yeah, I think it's important because we're humans. And the thing about a story, it gets you out of the way of all this fluff, if you will, and it makes you more authentic and people see you as a human. So if you want to make a connection, stories matter. If you've gone through it, if you've experienced it, and it got to be authentic. Don't make it up. I know AI is phenomenal. I love it, but don't use AI to make up your story. Make it like your real story of how you got to where you are. Be vulnerable enough to share that. And I tell people, for my background of who I am and why I'm so passionate, if you go back and look up my history of my family and my DNA, my mom's from the Bahamas. Her entire family last name is Nottage. If you go look up Nottage, it's C. Dolores Tucker, who was one of the first Secretary of States for Pennsylvania, marched across the bridge with Dr. King. And I've learned so much just understanding who I am. And that story, because I'm passionate about helping. I'm passionate about giving back. I'm passionate about development. I'm passionate about education. I had to figure out where that was coming from for me. And it came from my family legacy. Like, who are they and what am I made up of? It's really that stuff. The stuff that people have already paved the way. I just had to tap into it.
That's excellent. And when you can tell your story, then you start to resonate with the audience. You touch the audience and they feel you in a different way. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I mean, I think I'm successful, Dominique, because I am that transparent. When people ask how did they go, I say, man, it wasn't easy. There are some days I wanted to quit every hour of that day, but I managed to call someone and they encouraged me a little bit and they pepped me up a little bit and they told me I could do it. So have a circle of people that you can call when you get stuck, but stories and being transparent. So much stuff is look at, and I'm not going to call any of the social medias out, but 90% of that stuff is not accurate.
That's right. That's right.
It's what people want you to think. But if you sit at their dinner table, that's not who they are. So me, I think what helps me is I'm pretty authentic. I'm a family guy. I'm a faith guy. I'm a business owner. I'm a friend. I support a lot of people. That's who I truly am. And I'm that person every day. So I don't have to code switch, if you will, when I walk in rooms. I'm just Ron Harvey.
I love that. I love that. So Ron, one thing I want to talk about is the importance of volunteering. We met, and when we met, I asked you to volunteer for something, and the relationship grew from there. Then you became the NBIC chair for our whole network. Talk about the importance and the investment in volunteering your time and services.
Yeah, I mean, and my parents have done it. I'll go back, Dominique. I really had to figure out where did I get it from, because, I served in the Army for 21 years. That's a commitment of volunteering. I mean, 21 years, I served in countries that I didn't even know existed when I was 13. And they weren't on my bucket list. So let's be honest about it. So I think I've always had that volunteering, but our community, our society, our nonprofits need people that are successful, that's willing to donate their time or donate their resources, donate their talent or donate their funds. It's impossible for this world to function without people that's willing to volunteer. It is impossible. There's just not enough positions or enough revenue in organizations without volunteers. So I would tell every business owner, every leader, find a way to give back to the place where you work, live, pay taxes, and go to school. If you want your communities to be better, give up some of your time.
That's good. And that volunteering ends up turning into something else in the future. You might volunteer a little bit here and it turns into a contract later. So I look at volunteering as supporting your community, but also it's an investment in marketing. It's your marketing dollar investment that you're not paying for except with your time. So you invest that time and then it has tenfold payouts for you in the end.
Absolutely. I do it at the chamber. I did it with CVMSCC. I mean, and it was needed, but also needed what I can get out of it as well. But I didn't go and say, what do I get out of it? That wasn't my first. So I would caution everybody. Don't do it just because you got to get something. You want this thing that you want. I want you to get that, but don't let that be the primary motive, because if you don't get it, you're going to quit. So I will tell you, I volunteered a lot of organizations. It's really to help that organization achieve it. The byproduct is it works in my favor as well. And that's important. So I'm telling everybody, I personally don't walk in. I volunteer at my church. It's not because something has to happen for me there, but it pays off for me later. Excellent. So be really, really mindful that you know that you're doing it for the good of doing it. Even if you don't get a pat on the back or a thank you or that contract, you don't quit because you went in with the vision. I just wanted to help them. I just happened to get this. And that's what makes me continue to show up, because I'm not making it about me.
There you go. There you go. Excellent advice. Well, Ron, I'm going to end with my last and favorite question. You talk about the importance of working on your business versus working in it. Can you share what that distinction means for you and how leaders can start shifting towards growth-focused leadership?
Yeah, I mean, the important part for me as far as how I do it, Dominique, is, I had a hustle mentality. And hustle mean I just kept going and I stayed busy, but I couldn't tie productivity back to it or metrics to it. And I had to figure out how to slow down and look at a year out, 18 months. I don't do a 3-year calendar or a 5-year calendar. And I know some people may push back on that, and I'm fine with it. I have an 18-month rolling calendar, which means 18 months from now, we already know what we're going to do. We're having our full conference tomorrow, Unpack Leadership Conference, first ever for our community. I've already got the date on the calendar for October 2nd of next year. our team is, and the one this year hasn't even happened. It's not happening until tomorrow, but we already have it on the calendar for next year. That's what I mean by working on everything and being succinct and being intentional and planting seeds and working towards it. So that means I got to do the work so I can be ready next year, and I got to do well tomorrow. So both have to happen simultaneously. That's working on your business and versus just constantly grinding and hustling and can you get the next dollar? It's much bigger than that. And the mindset changes. So I don't worry about, when I land a contract, I get stuck in, hey, I'm good for this year. Nope. The day I sign a contract with a client, I already start preparing for the renewal of that contract. What is it going to take 3 years from now when it's time to renew that? We do federal contracts. I'm already looking, what do we got to do to renew it? And what are they going to be looking for? So we're already down the road thinking about what's going to happen in 3 years.
Excellent, Ron. Well, thank you for your words of wisdom. Appreciate you being here on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes. If you'd like to learn more about how Ron Harvey and Global Core Strategies and Consulting can support your next project, visit gcs.consulting. That's gcs.consulting. Well, that concludes today's episode of Intentionality. Be sure to join me for our next episode. And remember that we must always, always remain intentional to gain knowledge, skills, and connection so we can grow and thrive in business together. I'm Dominique Simpson Milton, and I will see you next time.
This has been another episode of Intentionality with Dominique, brought to you by the CVMSDC. For more information, please visit cvmsdc.org.